Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's react to Sneakø and Mohammed Hijab last meeting after the interview between Piers Morgan and Mohammed Hijab and Dershowitz.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, you're live. Can you see and hear me?
Salamia, how you doing? You okay?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for coming on. Last moment's notice.
No worries at all, bro. How you doing? You okay?
Doing good. I just wanted to look at review your debate with Dershowitz, and I thought it'd be interesting to call you before. How did it go?
Well, I mean, I think it was enjoyable from my end. It was interesting. I mean, the thing is, it's become like when you go on Piers Morgan Uncensored, it's not meant to be like a formal academic debate. And I learnt my lesson the first time when I had a debate with a guy called Shmoli.
Yeah.
And I asked them, like, because
Unholy Shmoli.
the common protocol, like the typical protocol with the debate is, one person speaks for a certain amount of time uninterrupted, and then the other person speaks for a certain amount of time uninterrupted, etc. And then there's like cross-examination, and then there's like questions and answers or something to that effect. So when I proposed that to the production team the first time, they were not interested in that kind of thing. So I realized what kind of game is being played, because the first thing you got to do with these things is to see what kind of game is being played. And the game is the loudest person, the most assertive person, the most aggressive person usually gets center of the ring. So the strategy going into this one was, okay, well, if that's how you guys are going to play it, then I'm going to have to play this game as well, and I can play this game. And I had to do a psychological assessment of Piers Morgan and Dershowitz, and I found that there were two individuals with extremely fragile egos and quite averse to, or you could say hypersensitive to criticism. So I would just have in my pocket all of these ad hominems that any time where I thought like I was losing the center of the ring, I'd throw an ad hominem. Because for me, people don't look necessarily at arguments when it comes to these engagements. I think arguments are important, but they are a secondary priority. The first priority is actually optics. And it's a genocide supporter or someone like Piers Morgan, or an apologist really for Palestine genocide. He tries to pretend or feign that he's on the fence. But after a year, 50,000 people effectively died in more than one country. Israel acting in the same way in Palestine, acting in the same way.
By the way, Piers Morgan, he condemned Israel or IOF, whatever they're doing. So he condemned them, but with every new meeting, with every new interview, he goes back to the same point again, 7th of October and whatever. So he just like completely forgets what he condemned last time, and he ignores these numbers that we receive online with like authentic resources. Yeah. So yeah, I saw the way that Mohammed Hijab he conducted this meeting, and he was like, yeah, attacking. Yeah, he didn't allow them to have any point to say, yeah.
In Gaza, acting in the same way in Lebanon, I was not going to be questioned by this guy. And I don't mind if anyone comes and says, well, you're very arrogant the way you've dealt with this, very distasteful, very unbecoming. I say, you know what? It doesn't matter what you think, because with all due respect, I would rather look arrogant and be dominating with an enemy or with an individual who's an apologist for the genocide than look professional but weak at the same time. So it's a trade-off I was happy to have. And I think this is the only way to deal with people like this. And
yeah, I agree with this. And also Piers Morgan, he likes the controversial thing. Like he likes to bring two people from opposite like side and just let them and he just pretends to say, oh, you guys are not calm, so I have to end this, but they just like the controversial thing anyway.
I think it was, from my perspective, it fulfilled the strategic function of showing the hypocrisy of Piers Morgan, because when he was questioned with the same words and the same interrogations that he uses to question other people about Israel, does Israel have a right to defend itself? What's the proportionate response? Literally, his exact words were used against him, and you saw him contradict himself in a span of a minute. Does Iran have a right to defend itself? Yes,
Yeah, the double
no,
standards.
yes. Literally going from one answer to another answer in the span of 20 or 30 seconds, not knowing how to respond to that question, getting a taste of his own medicine. You know, he's been doing it like I will never forget the interview that he conducted with Jeremy Corbyn.
Right.
Jeremy, if you saw that interview, bro, he was basically trying to ravage Jeremy Corbyn with like 15 or 16 or 20 times asking the same thing. You condemn this, or does Israel have a right to defend itself? Okay, well, have a taste of your own medicine, Piers Morgan, because it's not just you that can try and act the bully. If you can try and dish it out, and you want to dish it out to people like Jeremy Corbyn and this one and that one, the other one, Abdul Wahid, who the GP who lost his job subsequently because of that interview, and other people as well who he's been trying to bully. If you act like that, you know, you're not about that life really, because there's always going to be someone who can do that to you in a better way than that you can do it to other people. And that person's Mohammed Hijab. And when he came and he did it to you in Dershowitz, I mean, you really didn't have a response. I mean, the physiognomy of Piers Morgan said it all. His facial expressions, his physiological reactions. He was a defeated man.
And the thing I like about that Piers Morgan also of all that he being like put in that spot, and also he post that clip because he cannot post it because his show is called Uncensored, and he should post it without any cutting, without any ignoring any part. So yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. And yeah, some people say it's distasteful, but to be honest with you, I don't care what I have to say about that.
Yeah, some people said that he started to cry, that he started to team up. I thought he was supposed to be moderating. What do you think is the best way to navigate these sort of debates? Because I'm sure you get criticism from people saying that you go guns blazing too much, but I like the way you describe a debate as the ring. You're not just in there to have a friendly conversation. When it's somebody who's opposing your entire worldview, and you know it's all about optics, and there's a big stage, it really is a fight. How do you navigate conversations like that without destroying your reputation, but also upholding the point of view that you hold so dearly?
I think debates are more of an art than a science. Some people think that debates are you coming with these arguments and you have to act in this way. You have to not be afraid to break formalities. At the end of the day, there are some formalities with these things. And when you're going on Piers Morgan's Uncensored, for example, someone would think you have to assume the posture of an interviewee. I didn't take that as a granted assumption. So I took quite frankly, as much as I could with the tools that I had, I took the role of the interviewer. I actually said, I'm going to get the center of the ring. And the way I did that, and I'm going to reveal the secret, since I don't think I'm going to be debating this issue with Piers Morgan again, is like I said before, Piers, you just review the psychological profile of the person that you're dealing with. A lot of it is just psychological advantage. Someone will say, why did you start with an ad hominem? An ad hominem, isn't that a kind of informal fallacy? It's only an informal fallacy if you connect it to an argument and you say, for example, you know, you are such and such, therefore you are wrong. I mean, no one's making an argument in that kind of crude manner. An ad hominem is actually a very effective means of discrediting your opponent, of setting a psychological scene, of creating a certain thing. So to remove ad hominems from a public debate on these kinds of issues is actually quite ridiculous and foolish, and there's no reason to do so. The only reason why the term ad hominem has a bad reputation is because people think it's a fallacy. But it's only a fallacy if you connect it explicitly to a kind of logical proposition. We're not doing that. So you can throw as many ad hominems as you want. I mean, sometimes ad hominems are like the spice, like, you know, salt in on the food. You put ad hominems there and you entertain the public with some ad hominems. And if you say, well, that's a bad argument, so, like he did, I say, I'm not making an argument. I'm just making a point. I'm making a point about your character, about his character, about someone else's character. And that's just for the public to see. Because look, the debate is a bit like a performance. It is a performance. You're coming out there, you're trying to convince the public. And so as I say, it's an art because you first have to look at the psychological profile of the person that you're dealing with. So knowing Piers Morgan, the thing about him is, as I mentioned, he's hypersensitive to criticism, and he always feels the need to justify his actions to the public.
Right.
He considers.
I mean, everyone can do that to some extent. I mean, there's a healthy amount of doing that to just explain to the public or whatever if people are really curious. But he does it because and it came out in his interview. If you really paid attention, he cares too much what even his adversaries think about him. So he said, "What do you think of me, Mohammed? What do you think of me? Who cares what I think of him? I mean, I don't care what he thinks of me. Why does he care so much if I like him or don't like him or these kind of things? So it's a psychological weakness, okay? And because for him, he's not basing his stances on principles, or he's basing it on money, okay? He's basing it on these kind of things. He's money over morals, Piers. So someone with that kind of psychological profile, it's easy to break him, okay? It's actually quite easy to break him. It's a mind game that must be played with him, because the first thing is, Dershowitz is the same, by the way. You'd have noticed when I was speaking to him about Epstein's Island, he kind of crossed his arm, he became like a little girl. Oh, I'm telling you, I didn't go to the island. I mean, why are you? I mean, the way he spoke about that is, people are saying in the comment section, it's very incriminating. People are saying that people are saying in the comment section, he sounds guilty. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like,
You got me.
he went down with a jab, really, because both of them are, like I say, fragile psychologically. So if you know that the person's a
Yeah, they were surprised by it. Yeah, they were surprised. Like they didn't know how to react. I'm sure they had like their own plan how they would like speak or respond to anything that he would say. But yeah, he just surprised them, I guess.
stubborn as a liar and is playing a game with you. He doesn't really know the facts. And every single thing that I said about international relations has been fact checked and turned out to be correct. Every single thing about international law has been fact checked that he said it was wrong, and it turned out to be correct. So if these people are going to poison the well and lie about the facts, okay, well, let's play a game. I know your weaknesses. You can't really get to me because you can't reach me in that way psychologically. Let's see. Let's see. So
Do you want to
the
play a
ad hom in
game?
the beginning was a way of really like, if you like, putting the jab to the face of to the nose of the opponent in the beginning, just letting them respect who you are. It's like a psychological advantage. And then after that, we'll throw the arguments, we'll mention all these points, all that kind of thing. But you need to maintain center of the ring. In a place like Piers Morgan Uncensored, you have to, as soon as you get in there, the tactic is to get the center of the ring and ask the questions and be the interviewer. And yes, be ready for anything else. But that's what I've done with him. And people will not like it. But I'll be honest, I cannot care what their opinion is, because I'm pretty sure that for the minority of people that don't like it, like 2%, 3%, who said you went a bit overboard or whatever, if they were on Piers Morgan, they'd probably get ravaged by him. And
Right.
if it was a 2-on-1 situation, they'd get even more ravaged, and they would be spoken over, and they would be interrupted, and I would rather be, like I said before, I would rather look arrogant, I'd rather look whatever than look weak on that show with that man defending that position. For me, that was not an option.
That's a good strategy, and I think it's worked time and time again against Shmuley and against that major debate you had just on Palestine, Israel against Piers Morgan last year. You got to get dirty. The formal debate strategy does not work on a live show like that. It's a different type.
Yes, definitely. For someone to represent the oppressor and proudly admitting they're killing civilians and innocent people, yeah, you gotta get dirty. Yeah, they don't deserve to be like pure with them.
Type of ball game. So it was good to see that. I'm looking for. Do you recommend that I watch the full interview, or should I watch the highlights that you put up on your channel?
No, you can do a bit of both. I mean, I put some highlights. The guys that are working with me, Benjamin Ikra is a fantastic, person who manages the social media platforms, and I have to give him a shout out because he's the one who puts those things together. You can watch that as a taster and stuff. Some things that he put on the shorts and all these kind of things, they're good. But I mean, you can watch the whole thing because you'll see. I mean, just pay attention to the body language, pay attention to the psychology of these two men, pay attention to how weak they look, because that for me is more important than anything. For me, optically how a debate looks is as important as how it sounds. And so for example, if someone were to turn off all the sound and children were to come into a room and they had to judge who is the winner of this debate, the child should be able to point without hearing a word at the winner of the debate just by the body language and the demeanor and the confidence levels of the interlocutor. And that's for me a very, very integral part of debates.
That's
What about the
secret
you had another debate recently with that you were preparing for a long time. What is his name again? It's
William Lane Craig.
Yeah, William Lane Craig. I didn't get to see that yet. How did that one? It seemed like that was. I saw some highlights, but it seemed like that was unanimously in your favor.
It was. I mean, but the thing is, William Lane Craig is no, Dershowitz. He's a person who's, quite frankly, I have to say, he is academically honest. and he is a heavyweight in the world of academia. In the field that I've, completing my PhD is philosophy of religion. He's really one of the biggest names in the last 100 years. And in Christian debates, he could be said to be the biggest name in the last 100 years. So William Lane Craig is, if you've watched any of these Christian apologists, usually in some way, shape, or form, the teacher of your favorite Christian apologist debater. Like, for example, David Wood. I had a big debate with David Wood in 2018. Right. And William Lane Craig would be considered to be, in a way, his teacher. So he's a big, big fish, and you can't.
By the way, William Lane Craig, he didn't bring any strong evidences or strong points that he can speak about. The only points that he brought, it was like for the sake of Muslims, and that Muslims can agree with, at least. So yeah, he didn't bring this much of huge important topics.
Can't really get away with things with him. He's written a book on logic. He's written so many peer-reviewed papers. So I actually prepared for that debate.
So when you watch it, it's like you see the other person is not prepared. But yeah.
Very rigorously and very, strenuously. Like every day I would be reading his books. I've read most of, if not all his books. I've read most of, if not all his, seen most of, if not all his debates and all of his public lectures and everything that there is to do with this guy, because
I like how he can be intellectually insulting, but at the same time respectful in the debates. I don't know how he does that.
For me, this was more of an academic debate. Yeah, I was assertive, but it's not like that debate is not going to get as much traction as this one, because the performative aspect of the entertainment aspect was much less, because it was about the facts, and I think it was good. I think we went back and forth. There was nothing that he said that really threw me off, or that something I didn't hear before, except for one
he didn't bring anything
example that he gave about some candles, which I misheard, because he said that if you put two matchsticks together and both of them will light a candle, light a candle, and I heard him differently in my head, saying that if you put two candles together, it will become a bigger flame. So in my mind, that was a mistake that I made.
No, he said if you have two candles, the light will be bigger. Like you have one candle, the light is gonna be something, and when you have two candles in the room, the light will be bigger. So yeah, and the example that Mohammed Hijab gave with the dog with three heads, I think it's a good
in hearing what he had to say. And that was the only thing that he brought that I didn't expect him to bring, because I didn't really read it in any of his works. This thing about overdetermination, I think he thought about it on the spot. However, obviously, now having heard what he said, I think it's even a weaker argument than I thought it was in the beginning, because what he was trying to say was that, if God, I'm saying if the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, how can all three of them create the universe fully and totally and at the same time together? How is that possible? So he said that, well, if you get two matches, okay, and you bring it to the wick of a candle, okay, then those two matches, both of them are fully necessary for the lighting of the wick of that particular candle. And that's a very, 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 very weak argument, because the truth is, if you've got two matches and you, from a physics perspective, if one of them produces enough energy to light the candle, you don't need the other match, becomes superfluous, it's unnecessary completely. So you can't say that actually two matches are the ones which lit the candle, because actually only one match was required to light the candle, and the other one was there as a redundant feature from a physical perspective. Like the heat of the second one is not required, because there's a threshold that was used for the first match.
It's like in the Quran when Allah Azza wa Jal says the sun is illumination and the moon is a light. Yeah, and it goes against the verse in Exodus, I think first Exodus 18 something in the Bible, where they say the sun illuminates and the moon illuminates. Yeah, people since all the time in the old times in the Bible, they assume that they both have the same illumination, like they both are a source of light. Yeah, but the Quran was truthful, the word of God 1400 years ago, that the sun, the moon is only reflecting the light of the sun. Yeah, so yeah, one of these points is say two candles both lighting. It's like Christians will say I am and the Father are one. Yeah, So a lot of Christians bring this verse. They say that proves that that Jesus is God or divine or whatever, or that he is God or Allah. Yeah. So we respond to this, that when he said, I am and God, so there is I and God. Yeah. So the and is separating. Yeah. So we see like here separation and combination. Like we see at the same passage, there's a separation and combination. So when he says I am and God are one. Yeah. So the and is separating. The one is combining. So the and is separating between the entities. Like I'm different entity than God entity. Yeah. So the and is separating entities. So whenever we come to combine, we can combine anything except entities, right? Because we already separated the entities. Yeah. So we can combine within the idea or the purpose or the goal. Yeah. So when he said I am and God are one, so the and already separating entities, the one is with the purpose or the message. Yeah.
But that's the only thing I think that some Christians came out and said, well, you said this and this and whatever. But nevertheless, even what I did say, which I misheard what he said, was correct. If you do bring two flames together, the flame will become bigger. There's no controversy in it.
Yeah, the light will become bigger, but this candle is going to be like separate than this candle. They're not going to be like one candle. Yeah, you cannot keep the monotheistic theme under Trinity. You can't just say they're three, but at the same time they're one. Yeah, they're trying to avoid the first commandment that Jesus said, I didn't come to abolish the commandment of Moses. And one asked which is the best commandment, and Jesus peace on him, he said the first one, which is, hear, O Israel, your Lord is one, the Shema. Yes, so they try to keep the monotheistic theme, but under the Trinity. You cannot do that. Even like a kid 10 years old, he's not gonna agree with that.
So the point is that you cannot have two entities, okay, which create the universe to a degree of 100% each. And the similitude of saying that you can is the same similitude of saying that you can have two mothers that are 100% responsible for the production or the creation or the giving birth to one child.
Impossible.
So having two mothers that are 100% capable of producing one child. And I've given this example before, and it's something that William Lane Craig did not respond to and cannot respond to and will not respond to, because it's something which is too clear for anyone to dispute. And to be honest, if he can't do it with two PhDs, a master's degree and a BA and all these books and 30 books, I mean, in this library behind me, I've got some of little library. I've got some of his books, as you can see here. You know, this is a book, you can see. He's written on time and eternity. You can see with copious notes attached to it. He's William Lane Craig. You know, lots of books of his that I've got here that it's not even related to.
It's very amazing to have like the books of the person that you're gonna debate. It's amazing, and you already have to have this like a huge, good amount of knowledge in your mind. Then when you read his books, then you can agree with some parts and disagree with some parts, and then you can use arguments against him if he speaks anything against his belief or whatever.
The topic, he's written many books. He's a man that is probably the foremost philosopher, you know, in the Christian world. And if he couldn't answer these questions, I'm sorry to say, who can? So the Trinity cannot be defended.
Yeah, he compared it to a three-headed dog, correct?
Exactly that, bro. I mean, comparing the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy. He's saying, look, his argument is this. He's saying if you've got a three-headed dog, it's actually just one dog with three heads. The response is a very simple response, and Christians have themselves responded to it and said, actually, if you've got a dog with three heads, you've got three dogs with one overlapping body. In the same way as if you had a conjoined twin or a Siamese twin, you know, if you've got a conjoined twin, that's two people, but it's just got some connection between those two people. So if that's your strongest argument, bringing a three-headed dog to prove the Trinity, then you know how false Christianity is. That itself, you have the top dog, no pun intended. You got the top dog of the Christian world, okay?
Yeah.
In the last 100 years, you know, and this guy's the one who defeated so many people in argumentation. Sam Harris, this one, that one, written books, peer-reviewed, you know, 50 years in the game, 50 years, half a century in the game. And this is his best attempt There's no way, I'm sorry to say, there's no way this can be made sense of. You cannot make sense of the Trinity. And if you can't make sense
You
of the
are
Trinity, and you still
finished.
believe in Jesus, Islam is the only religion, really.
Mhm.
Only major world religion.
He
If you
didn't
still
tell him you
believe
are
in Jesus,
finished.
you want to believe in the Messiah, and you can't make sense of the Trinity, then you have to believe he's the prophet and the messenger, and that he's not God or the Son of God.
If you read the Bible, please read the Bible. You'll see like over 30 times he calls himself a prophet. Over another 30, maybe 50, maybe 80 times he say, I was sent by God. Yeah. So he lacked knowledge. He was hungry. Yeah. He had to sleep. He had to eat. He forgets. He didn't know the unseen. He had to go to the fig tree to find if there are figs or not. Like all these attributes for human. And until the Council of Nicaea 325 after his death, 300 years after his death, on the Council of Nicaea, he was announced that he's God and he's a part of Trinity. Like, like even a sane person, he would like understand that.
Because it doesn't make sense for him to be part of the Trinity. And if that's it, if you've understood that, then Islam is really the only option for you.
What do you have coming up for? Because you're coming off of 2 big wins. I see on Twitter that you're very selective with your debates, and I think that's the right strategy, right? When you get to a certain point, and when you have like major victories under your belt, a lot of other debaters will want to come in there and try to do a quick one because they get to steal some of that aura. They get to steal that win. It is a lot like fighting. You need to be selective with it. What do you have coming up forward? Anything major, or do you think that you should relax for a bit?
By the end of the month, I've got something to announce. Which will be, in my understanding, quite major, but the announcement will come at the end of the month. In terms of debating, though, I'm going to give it a rest until something comes to my attention, which is interesting. I mean, to be honest, there's like 7 or 8 people now that are lining up on a waiting list to debate me, and I have no problem. Maybe one day they'll get their chance, but they also need to understand that I've been debating for a very long time, and that now my debates have garnered some of the most views and interactions and engagements in the world. Okay, that's a fact. I mean, in multiple languages. So just being fair, if they were in my position and then they had the same kind of resume, I'm putting aside whether you think I won or lost any of those debates. That's a subjective value judgment. And of course, if you don't agree with me ideologically, you're going to think I lost every single debate I've ever been in. It's not a problem. But the fact remains that from an influential perspective or from a prominence perspective, that my debates for the last especially since 2018, but well beyond that, have garnered the kind of traction that they've garnered. So if somebody with a tenth of the, if someone with a tenth of the with the numbers that I've got has the audacity to come and speak to me as if, oh, you're a coward if you don't do such and such, and you're such and such if you don't do such and such. I mean, why do you think I owe you a debate? I don't owe anybody a debate. You know what I mean? So, I mean, until you come and done what, even a fraction, I'm not even telling you to do what Mohammed Hijab done. That might be an impossible thing for you to do. But go ahead and do some of that. Go and do 20% in your community. Get that level of 20% on track, 30%, maybe. I like debating. I enjoy it. You can come to me and you can fulfill like somebody called Jay Dyer or Sam, wife beater, or anybody else who wants to, engage. Shmoli came the other day. This guy, Mus'ab, Ibn Yusuf, or I don't know his full name, or this one or that. There's so many of them that have come and presented themselves. This other guy called, I don't know, Andrew Wilson, or is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his name. And he's like, yeah, come and speak to me. I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, so go and then I click on all I have to do is click on their thing and see their engagements, and they're not really big figures. So, okay, I'm a coward, or I'm a bad man, or I'm a scared man because I don't want to accept a debate with an individual or individuals that have a tenth of my following or a tenth of or have not really achieved much in their communities. If that's what you want to say to yourself to make yourself feel good, then by all means, you can tell me that.
I think it's nice that he's not giving attention to those let's say small figures compared to him, but yeah, it's to debate people with his level and above. Yeah, that's a good goal.
The William Lane Craig debate, that does kind of encompass a lot of the other Christian apologists, so there's no need to, as a viewer's perspective, there's no need.
I have to be excited for it. because at the end of the day, I'm not excited by these names. I mean, these names are not exciting. They're not exciting me. And I'm sorry to say, I have to be motivated. So when Piers Morgan gave me Andrew Dershowitz, and I thought 2-1, I'm going to make this into it's going to be a 2-1 engagement. Piers Morgan, he gets the numbers. Okay, humiliating him in front of the public and stuff like that. Is there a need for that? Is there a utility in that? I said, okay, no problem. And I did it in 1 day's notice. I checked out, because I've read some of that Dershowitz stuff before. So I just looked at my notes from the library and stuff like that, and saw and spoke to a few people, international relations experts and stuff, and we went for it. But if you're not going to be, what you bringing to the table at the end of the day, for all those people who want to debate Mohammed Hijab, the question really remains: what are you bringing to the table? It's not like you're bringing.
Do you have new
Most of these people are
arguments?
unqualified. A lot of these people don't even have a single qualification. You're not an academic. You don't even have social media reach. You're not even loved in your own communities. So what is it about Yani? So the point is, you can go and prove yourselves, go and get a few wins under your belt, go and let the community back you. And then if I see, and if my team finds that, that you're at a certain level, maybe one day, no problem, I'll be around. I'm just turned 33 years old. I mean, I'm still quite young. There's, years and years of my life. Maybe we'll meet one day. But the point is, I mean, it's for them to think that they're what kind of entitlement must they have? I mean, for me, when I approached William Lane Craig, I approached him with a certain level of respect. I mean, this guy's way my senior. He's much more. If he said no because you're not on my level, honestly, if he said that to me, I'd be okay, fine. He's right. I'm not on his level. He's done much more than I have, and he's been in the game for more than I have. That's simple as that. If someone like, even to be fair, even like Richard Dawkins, who I would love to debate one day, but if he says, "Look, I'm sorry, but go and build yourself up a little bit more and then come back,"
I'm
to
looking
me,
forward
I'll say
for
to
that,
him, "Yeah,
really.
fair enough."
Like Dawkins, like his theories is very widespread around the world today. Yeah, so I hope to see that
can say things
one
like
day.
that, but you might not be alive. I might not be alive. You might not be alive.
Yeah,
Nobody might be alive, but
true.
he's 80 something years old. Fine. If you're the A side, you can speak like that. But if you're not the A side, you can't speak like that. So by the end of the month, there's going to be some announcements that we're going to make about some things that's going to happen. But I'm definitely going to give debating a bit of a rest for now until something comes up.
I figured you were going to. That's probably the smart decision. Are you good friends with Firas Sahabi? Because I'm planning a stream with him to go out to Montreal. I'm headed to Canada tomorrow. Are you good friends with him?
Very good friends with him. I think I've actually watched most of his videos as well. People don't know that he's got a website called jujuclub.com. And that website, he puts tutorials about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, striking tutorials, a lot of like mixed martial arts stuff. And they're really good. He's a good teacher. Like he shows he breaks things down analytically. He's a grappling expert under John Danaher, who's like, really and truly one of the greatest grapplers alive today. And he's obviously an MMA expert. Joe Rogan described him as the best MMA coach in the world today. A good template. Speak to him in a macro sense. Because if you go to Montreal for a couple of weeks, you're not going to go and come back as GSP. But what you might go and come back with is the way to become like the new
Tel Aviv Tommy Robinson. I don't know if you know Aiden Ross. We tried to set up a debate with Dan Bilzerian and Tel Aviv Tommy Robinson. Tommy he refused. He didn't respond to it. He ran away from the debate, unfortunately.
Tommy Robinson has run away from multiple debates. And Dan, from my understanding, has a greater reach than Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
And since and he's more well known, more respected. He's come out and said some fantastic things about Palestine. He's shown to be open minded, and we have good opinions about this man.
I just watched a clip for him yesterday. I think maybe we'll react to it. Comment below if you want us to react to it.
And we hope that he continues with this principled stance, because to be honest with you, he's shown quite a good level of courage and valor in the face of these
with no filter
and enemies that are on social media. Yes, he wouldn't debate someone like Tommy wouldn't debate someone like him, because he knows that the crowd will be against him. He knows that
You will lose a lot of people.
that Dan will put him in his place because he speaks sense, and he doesn't want to debate another white man. He wants to go and debate. Tommy wants to debate brown people with low IQ. That's the usual target. He wants to debate
So he can look like that he's winning.
somebody is an unknown quantity with a very low IQ, so that he can say that he's. And Tommy's not a debater. Tommy's not an academic. Tommy's not anything.
Yep.
Tommy's a street agitator. That's fine. He can agitate on the street. But in fact, what's worse is that he's a street agitator that's not even an agitator on the streets of the UK, because he agitates
outside.
from Greece when other people and his lackeys and followers and whipping boys here in the UK will do his work for him because they feel disenfranchised and have no one else to go to.
I mean, Dan's not a debater either. Dan Bilzerian is a business mogul, is a poker player. He does not have a debate background whatsoever. So I thought it was pretty well matched. And also they had a back and forth on Twitter. There were, what's his name? Tommy Robinson was accusing myself and Dan Bilzerian of being paid by Iran and Saudi. And I had this funny conversation with Dan. It's like, if someone was going to offer us money to pose and take pictures with the Quran, I would take the money. If somebody was offering up giant sums of money in order to promote Islam, I would gladly take it, but there is none.
What Tommy Robinson is doing is psychological projection, because that he is on the record of getting money through Zionist entities. So he thinks everyone deals with life the way he deals with it. You know, he gets money over morals, all these kind of things, and then he does. So he's on the record of, you know, getting funds and stuff like that. And people have shown, Loki, for example, has shown the trail to the Zionist causes. And so he's projecting, he's saying, oh, you know, Sneakø is getting money from Saudi Arabia. But somehow now I didn't know that Saudi Arabia was offering money.
Yeah, when you see someone speak about only money, like, oh, it's like that. Oh, okay, I know your level. Now I know your level. I know what you think of. So he from his perspective, he's think about money, and yes, he's approving what people are accusing him of. He's taking money from Israel, IDF, so he can like agitate the streets in UK and anywhere around the world against the Muslims.
For
So that's
that
why
are
he's
doing,
accusing
Dawah.
Sneakø of that.
That's the first time I've heard of it, because if they were, I mean, I've been in the game for a very long time. I think I'm the first one in the line that should be getting some money from the Saudis, to be honest with you. But you know,
all Dawah guys needs money.
It's a modest cause, genuinely. I mean, the thing is, the Dawah is a very modest cause, and you'll find that no one probably offered you anything in the time. The only thing we offer in Islam is truth and brotherhood. And that's all the things we need.
That's it. Dan Bilzerian, same thing. He's saying that he's only lost money talking about this. He's lost millions of dollars. People have pulled out of his businesses. The shareholders want to get rid of him as the CEO because he's speaking up about Palestine. It's a cause that you lose a lot for, but you gain in nobility and respect from the community.
Yeah, because if you, I mean, someone look.
It's like if you put your God in front of you, like between your eyes, yeah. Because God's always watching us, but we try to ignore that or say, oh no, God's not looking. Now he's not looking. Okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But if you keep God like between your eyes, that means that you have this conscience that God's looking at you. Then you're gonna, you know, avoid lying, avoid deceiving, avoid manipulating, avoid, you know, assisting the oppressor. Yeah, or taking money where you're harming people for that, yeah?
The people who have stood up for these causes are going to be etched in history as people who spoke the truth. People like Muhammad Ali, people like Malcolm X. There's no question, even at their time, if you read Malcolm X's autobiography, which I know that you have, you'll find that he found, you know, people in his time really opposing him, you know, for what he was saying. They considered him to be an extremist. They considered him to be out of the ordinary, and he was fighting against the tide. But at the end of the day, you know, this is actually what gives us meaning and power and strength, because we can either decide to be sheep or shepherd. There's no third option in the age of social media now. You can either decide to bring people to a noble cause and to the truth.
That's why I keep trying like to support those who say the truth. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he said, say the truth even if it's against yourself and against your kin. Sorry, I think that's in the Quran. Yeah, it's a verse from the Quran. Yeah, and the Prophet also said that. And yeah, you have to say the truth, like even if it's against yourself. If I see like a Muslim person or Muslim nation or country doing bad thing, we'll be the first one to condemn it. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna stand with those guys because those are my people. Like you see, like not all the Jewish community, most of the Jewish community around the world are standing with the IOF, with what they're doing. I'm sure there are a lot of Jewish people who appreciate and follow the value of their like scripture or whatever, that they stand against this oppression. But you have a lot of people that stand with the oppressor because you say, oh, that's my people, I'm gonna stand with my people even if they're the bad guys. Yeah, in Islam, no, you don't have that. Like even if my brother commits something bad, I'm just gonna call it for him.
Or you can decide to follow everyone else in what they're doing and go with the modern ideology of the day, the fad of the day, whether it's LGBTQ ideology, whether it's trans ideology, whatever it is. You can decide to go with that, and you'll be forgotten and rendered irrelevant in the dustbins of history, the trash heap of history.
Yeah, once they're done with you, once you're dead or whatever, they're just gonna like forget about you. They'll find someone else to trade with or to have a contract with or to pay or whatever. Yeah. So so the thing is that people are being so clingy into this life. They're not thinking about the hereafter, the eternity life. Yeah. So they're just basing their judgment on the current moment. Yeah. So this video is about to end. Sorry, this is taking too long.
Or you could decide to speak the truth, and then you can have a legacy which.
Make sure to watch the shorts. We post shorts in this video, in this channel. So we post shorts. We sometimes post videos. Inshallah, soon we'll have like a microphone and we'll be like filming videos outside and we'll be posting them.
Is inshallah, from our perspective as Muslims, sadaqatun jariyah, or this idea of a continual charity. You know, it's a continuous. After you die, if you leave something good,
yeah, it's very important.
Then your good deeds continue. We believe if you've left something good, like for example, if you leave an orphanage, or for example, if you leave a water
build
well,
a mosque,
or for example, if you've left good knowledge or good dawah,
leave
that
knowledge
brings
with
people to Islam,
teach people,
and that removes the doubts away from the people.
That's what we're trying to do in this channel. We're trying to leave some beneficial content for others to can benefit, you know, through the next years, the next generations, or whatever. If YouTube stay like until the next decade or whatever, you know, because in the past I used to post like about gaming and whatever, and gaming content, live stream, and I do that sometimes here and there, but I just left that as like a main thing. So yeah, because there's no like benefit in that area.
This kind of thing, we believe, will continue after your death in a spiritual sense and in a material sense. What they have is not going to continue even within their own lives, let alone after their death.
I appreciate you for coming on. This was informative, a good precursor to watching this debate. So thanks a lot. I know that it's very late over there in London.
For watching.
Mohammed Hijab, thanks so much.
And subscribe and share
I'll see you
and
soon,
comments
bro.
below.
All right, see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.